Whew. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. I hope this video finds you in good times and not bad. And if it's during a bad time, things will get better. But I know I'm just the gym YouTuber, or at least a wannabe YouTuber and a movie reviewer, but I think it's time to talk about something more serious. And what better time than the beginning of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month? And before we get into all of that, I do need to read off the stats. I think it's very important. 600,000 men a year, 50,000 men a month, 12,500 men a week, 18,000 men a day, 75 men an hour, and over 1 man a minute decide to end their lives. And this is not just during this month. Obviously, this is the yearly statistic broken down. And these numbers are just way too high. And I think there's a lot of things in both the gym community and outside the gym community, and just, revolving being around a man and the way society wants us to act or behave, or just, the standards, um, or I can't remember the word, but it's just, there's too many. There's too many of us going, and I think we got to talk about it. Even if I'm going to reach 4 people, that's 4 people that maybe needed to hear it. And if you're amongst those 4, hi, welcome. You're not alone. Know that. I feel like a lot of these battles that us men face in the current climate of the world, we feel like we're going at it alone. And I just want you to know that no matter how big or small your problems are, you're not alone. And that's not to say your problems are small in comparison to, well, to someone else, they might be, but to you, they feel like a lot. And that's important. But I'm going to make a few of these videos throughout the month because I do think it is worth spending some time talking about it. But today's subject is going to be strength. Now, I'm not talking about physical strength, though that is important, especially as a gym vlogger, right? But I think strength as a man, and I think just as a person. I'm a very complex individual. I don't really like to look at gender. I think it has its place and its importance, but to me, we're all just humans on this earth, doing our best. So, but specifically, the standard society holds for us men, strength might be viewed as a certain way, or you might have interpreted it as needing to be a certain way. And this is my take on what strength really is and what strength really means. And this is just like a brief overview of the main points that I think that strength encompasses. And the first one is, and hopefully this is not a shock to anybody, but I think responsibility. I think real strength comes from being able to take responsibility for one's actions or lack of actions, and, you know, take this with a grain of salt. I think as people, as men, we should be able to say, hey, I did that. I'm sorry. I did that. I'm sorry. Rather than, well, if you didn't do this, or if this thing happened or didn't happen, then it would have gone better. Or just be able to take responsibility for the things that you should take responsibility for, and that being action or inaction, whether it's in the gym, at work, at home, in your relationship. It goes through several different, routes. Just learn to take responsibility, and I believe that is one of the foundations of true strength. Another important topic in strength, I think, is kindness. I think as men, we're viewed as having to be stern, maybe a little aggressive, and brutal. My vocabulary is very limited, but I think real strength also comes from being able to be kind, learning that you don't have to be harsh or cruel or um, dominant in a situation, and learning that it is stronger to be kind than it is to do those other things. I think it's really important that, um, in the situations that we're given in life, if there's a way to do something with kindness, that we should. And I'm far from perfect on that. I find myself slipping a lot of the time, whether that be shit talking somebody or, looking at someone's physique and being judgmental about it. I'm far from perfect. But in the situations where I've noticed myself being cruel or not so kind, it's nice to take a step back and go, well, let me look at it from a different perspective. Maybe this person who's being really ugly to me, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're having a bad week. Maybe they've just had a string of bad weeks and they're not intending to be that way. Maybe they are. Maybe that's just how they are as a person. But control the things you can. And if you can choose to, use kindness, I think that is a true sign of strength. Another thing I think is a foundation for strength is being able to be vulnerable. Vulnerability. I believe as men, we're told, men don't cry, men don't show emotion, and that we're supposed to just be stone cold killers. But I think there's true strength in being able to tell somebody, hey, I'm not doing very well. Like, I've been down on my luck recently, and mentally I'm not good. I'm sad right now. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm whatever. Be able to express your emotions. And I believe, that statistic I gave at the beginning about how many men take their own lives per year, I think some of it stems from, the societal pressure of having to be like a stone cold killer, just emotionless. But once again, we're all human. We all experience similar things. And emotion is definitely one of the things that we share with both genders. And I think if you are to learn how to convey those emotions or express those emotions, and it doesn't have to be with everyone, it doesn't have to be vulnerable or public like this. Well, it does have to be vulnerable, but it doesn't have to be public. It could just be with a individual you trust. But being able to get these emotions out of us, say them out loud, and just be vulnerable, it helps so much. I used to bottle everything up, every single little problem that would bother me, until I would just explode, until I would lash out at somebody, until I would just cry in the bathroom for an hour, or like cry myself to sleep, or whenever I was alone. Like, it is nice to be able to communicate these feelings, and it is just such a big weight off of you when you are able to express these emotions with others. So learn to be vulnerable. And yes, I'm just some dick on the internet, right? But paint me as somebody else. Paint me as someone you value, or someone you actually look up to. And imagine them saying these things. Just be able to be vulnerable with other people. It is by far the most freeing thing I've been able to learn. And part of that is like crying as well. Boys don't cry, but they do. And I do think it is important to be able to learn how to cry both when you're sad, both when you're happy, during all emotions. It's okay to cry. Maybe, situationally it might not be, right? But there's a time, there's places for it, and it's more common than you think, or it's more acceptable than you think. Get out of your head. Be vulnerable. Another thing I think plays a big role in strength is discipline. Do something hard. Discipline yourself. Stay consistent. Go to the gym. Make your bed. Whatever it is, brush your teeth. Do the dishes. Do something. Discipline yourself. Do something consistently positive towards yourself, for yourself, and do it consistently. And just hold yourself to a higher standard. This is a gym channel. I'm a personal trainer. I am a health advocate. I believe going to the gym isn't going to solve all your problems. But man, if you show up to the gym every single day, or, the days you're supposed to, more times than not, that shows more to your character and more towards your strength than being able to squat 600 pounds or bench 400 pounds. If, So I think being disciplined plays a big role in strength. Last thing I want to cover in strength that I think is very important is endurance. I already believe men are I they're meant to endure, and that doesn't just mean like, physical beatings and stuff like that. Maybe that plays a part in it, but emotionally, mentally, learn to endure things that are hard. And once again, I think the gym does play a big role in that. Going to the gym consistently, and especially the way I train, going to failure on 99% of the things I do, it's not easy. It is technically painful. I've gotten used to that, and others have too. But it's not easy by far, especially if you're first starting out. It might be very painful to go to failure. It might be like, fuck, my arms are sore and all this stuff. I can't do it. Endure it. Endure it. As long as you know it's actually positive and you didn't injure yourself, learn to endure the things that are good for you but are at face value or initially hard. They eventually become easier as time goes on. And at the end of the day, time is going to pass. So you might as well do the things that are hard that are good for you. And I think, to me as a man, I think that's what true strength is. And I feel like even if you only took one of these things at like with you, like on with you, I think that would improve your life if you're lacking in those departments. And once again, just some guy on the internet. Who cares who I am? At the end of the day, we're all individuals, and we're all going to do our own thing, and we're all going to have our own beliefs. But to me, that's what true strength is. And if you are going through something, suffering, thinking about taking your own life or anything like that, just remember it's a temporary solution to a temporary problem. Oh, no, sorry. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. There will always be sunshine after the clouds. Get through it. If you need anything, my DMs are open. I can't guarantee I'll answer it very quickly, but reach out to me if you need to. If you have no one else, reach out to your mom, your dad, your your significant other, your siblings, your aunts, uncles, family, friends, whatever. Reach out to somebody. Talk to somebody. Somebody wants to hear your story. Somebody wants to hear what you're going through, and somebody wants to make sure they're able to see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And I, believe it or not, I'm amongst those people. I want to make sure everyone that views this video, and even if you don't, I want everybody to thrive and survive and do well and feel better. But I think I've talked long enough, and don't become part of the statistic I gave at the beginning. Stay another day.